This is Henry Truck with Equities.com. We're here at the 27th Annual Roth Conference in Laguna Beach. Joining me right now is Julia Gregory, CEO of ContraFect. Julia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Henry. It's nice to be here. It's a beautiful place.
Absolutely. Now, ContraFect trades under the ticker symbol CFRX. Julia, just to start us off, can you tell us about ContraFect and what you do?
Certainly. I'm really delighted to be able to talk about ContraFect today, Henry. We are working on a very important life-threatening infection. So we are focused on anti-infectives, the field of anti-infectives, and we're bringing to the marketplace first in field, not just first in class, but first in field molecules that will disrupt the current approaches of anti-infectives, specifically the antiviral and the antibacterial, such as antibiotics, for instance, in the antibacterial space. We believe we have new drugs, a new class of medicines that will disrupt the way the old antibiotics are made and delivered.
So antibiotics is, you're noticing that a lot of more diseases are building higher, they're immune to antibiotics. How are you looking to change the game, so to speak?
So that's a really good question, because what we're finding today is that over the last 30 years, there's been a tremendous decline of new antibiotics in the market. In fact, since 2008, there have been only two. And so consequently, everyone's using the same antibiotics over and over and over again, and they're creating resistance. So there's a global crisis right now. The WHO and the CDC and even the UK medical health groups, they've all said that this is a crisis. And so what we're doing is we're focusing our drugs on serious life-threatening infections, and we're making sure our drug is not resistant. And we have a new class of medicine, entirely new class of medicine, not a derivative of the other antibiotics. So there are so many derivatives of the fluoroquinolones or the cephalosporins or such as those, or a fourth generation of. We have a new class, and the mechanism is different.
So how did that approach originate? What was the discovery that really kind of changed everything?
Well, the new class of medicines are called lysins. And the lysins were found at Rockefeller University by one of their most senior scientists, Dr. Vincent Fischetti. He's the father of the lysins. And the lysins are proteins. And these proteins have a completely different mechanism of action. It's that new mechanism of action that differentiates it from other antibiotics. For instance, the way it works is that it actually has a binding site on the bacteria, and it's that where it binds on the bacteria that is a conserved portion of the bacteria. So in evolution, it's that wall structure, the bacterial cell wall, that doesn't change. It's that part that doesn't change. And so it will die if it evolves. And by targeting that bacteria and licensing, it kills the bacteria. Other antibiotics are small molecules, we're a protein. We kill the bacteria 12 times faster than any antibiotic today. And we do it because we can also get through biofilm. And biofilm is a protective coating around bacteria. It coats, for instance, if you have a biofilm on bacteria over your heart, it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, for antibiotics to get through this protective coating. And then it can't get to the bacteria. We get through that coating, biofilm, because we can lyse right through it and get to the bacteria and kill the bacteria.
So there's definitely a need. We've kind of addressed that the old way just isn't working as well as it should be anymore. How close are you to bringing this to market? At what stage are you in terms of development for your products?
Well, because this is a completely new class of medicine, and I think it's a combination of the need, the recognition, the fact that now there are 2 million illnesses each year in the United States based on drug-resistant infections, that there are 700,000 worldwide deaths based on drug-resistant infections, that all the regulatory authorities are saying, how can we look at something completely new? And so we've been working with the FDA over the last 2 years on this new class, specifically CF301, which we're targeting staph bloodstream infections, including endocarditis, and including MRSA, the superbug. We've been working closely with FDA, so they, at the end of the year, gave us the green light to go into human clinical trials.
Wow, okay.
So this is the first time ever that we will have a whole new class of these licensed medicines going into humans. And we're starting with 301. We have just chosen our site for the phase 1 trial, and we should be screening subjects next month and with dosing subjects shortly thereafter.
Wonderful. So I guess in terms of your background, because when you're talking about potentially revolutionizing an age-old industry, the people who are spearheading it are critical. So I'd like to get a deep understanding of your background as well as some of the key members of your team.
Oh, that's a great question too, because when you're doing something that's this breakthrough, what I always want to surround myself with some of the smartest people in the room, right? And so in the first place, we come from a very strong scientific pedigree at Rockefeller. We have I've been an executive for biotechnology companies for the last 15 years. So before joining ContraFect, I was president and CEO of 5' Therapeutics. And before that, I was at Lexicon Pharmaceuticals as executive vice president of corporate development and CFO. And before that, I was on Wall Street for 20 years. I really like the business of science and moving it forward to the patient. We have Mike Whittekin, our Chief Scientific Officer, who comes to ContraFect from Amgen, where he had 9 different programs in clinical trials. So we have a really good group. Our Senior Vice President of Manufacturing was at Merck Sharp and Dohme before he came to ContraFect, also at Genzyme and others. So he knows how to get this manufactured. Our product is already manufactured for all of our phase 1 and phase 2 drug development vials. They're all ready to go. And the productivity of the manufacturing is very high, 9 grams per liter. So that's good. Our board of directors is exceptional. We're very lucky to have such a seasoned and experienced board. Dr. Saul Bearer is our chairman of the board. As you know Saul, he was the former CEO and chairman of Celgene. We also have added last year to our board Dr. Roger Pomerantz, who was the former head of infectious disease, global infectious disease for Merck and J&J, as well as Mike Otto, who was the former CSO of Pharmasset and responsible for developing Sovaldi, that Hep C drug everyone's talking about. So he knows what it's like to be a game changer. So he can be very helpful as we see we're changing the paradigm of antibiotics.
The pedigree is just amazing there.
Well, we're a team of people who want to build a very important infectious disease company for serious life-threatening drug-resistant infections, and we're going to accomplish that.
So you talked about some of the near-term and intermediate-term goals. Longer term, what is the vision of this company? What is the potential of ContraFect to become within maybe the next 3-5 years down the road?
So whether we're the next Cubist or the next Gilead, or even the next Merck, it's hard to say. Where we're going with this is, as I said, to build a really important infectious disease company. So we're starting with a license, which we think are breakthrough alternative to antibiotics today. Our second area of attention is an antiviral program, which is a triple antibody cocktail for serious life-threatening influenza. Now, this is not your common cold. This antibody cocktail covers all strains of influenza. And so what that means is that you won't miss a strain like they did with the vaccine this year.
Right.
Since it covers all strains, and you won't need a diagnostic. If you're in the hospital with influenza and you take this antibody cocktail, we think that you'll have a very effective treatment. Now that's a preclinical. We expect to file an IND for that next year. We also will, at the end of this year, nominate our next clinical candidate from our pool of license. And we're discovering new license to gram-negative bacteria as well. That's a whole new research program and quite a breakthrough on its own. So you start to see our theme here. We actually have a theme of drug-resistant infections that we're going to conquer in a completely different way. We also have combination therapy. We will actually use our CF301 for staph bloodstream infections in combination with standard of care when we're in the patient population. We think it's a good regulatory strategy, and we also think that 301 synergizes very well with the daptomycins and the vancomycins of the world today, making them far more potent, more timely, as well as avoiding resistance for them as well. So we almost liken it to oncology in the sense that we're creating a new pathway for the antibiotics field, and our lysine debulks the bacteria as if you were excising a tumor, and then the chemotherapy is mopping up the rest of the tumor cells. We would use the antibiotics to mop up anything that was left there. But a whole new company.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, there's a lot of hunger in the biotech space. There's a lot of interest there, especially for companies who are working on very innovative ways to treat diseases, and you certainly fall into that category.
Well, it's our responsibility, Henry, as a biotech company, to really come up with breakthroughs, and that's what the industry's been known for, and that's what we're doing.
Wonderful. Julie, anything we might have missed, or anything that any final takeaways that you want to share with our viewers?
Well, I think that the issue of drug resistance is such a problem that we have to think outside the box. We can't just come up with a derivative or a fourth generation of something that's been out there already. I also think that we're going to have pricing flexibility. Part of the problem with the antibiotics of yesterday is that there was really no pricing incentive to develop new ones. And so I think that the world population now of regulators is saying we have to give these companies not only a faster path to the clinic, but also pricing flexibility to have the pricing that it takes to get new medicines to the marketplace.
So you guys are working on very amazing things. Definitely worth keeping track of. Where can people go for more information and to kind of keep up to date to the development you're making?
Well, you clearly can go to our website at www.ContraFect.com, and our stock symbol CFRX.
Wonderful. Julia Gregory, CEO of ContraFect, thank you so much.
Thank you, Henry.
This has been Equities.com. Thank you for watching.